What is up, YouTube? How's everybody doing today? This is Everything is Tech here from everythingistech.com, and in this video I have my second addition to my DSLR photography guide. And in this video specifically, what I want to cover is buying your second lens kit. And yes, I know many people have a tough time deciding what their second lens should be after they have the default 18 to 55mm lens kit. So in this video, I'm going to do my best to help you out and help you decide on a second lens kit for your Canon or Nikon DSLR body. Now, before we go ahead and even talk about what different lens to buy as your second lens kit, my first advice would be to be comfortable with your camera body, regardless if it's a Nikon or a Sony or a Canon. You have to know the basic features of your camera before you can go ahead and buy another lens kit. Now, the reason I say be comfortable with your camera before you go ahead and buy your second lens kit is you need to know the basic settings of your camera, like the ISO and the different aperture settings and all the great stuff. If you know these basic settings, you can get more from your lens kit, so that will actually give you a reason to buy a lens kit. I know a lot of people who just shoot on full auto settings and they just go ahead and buy and spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on lens kit when they really don't even need it, because first of all, they don't know how to even use your camera. And when I say they don't know how to use the camera, I mean they can't really control the features of your camera, and that's the awesomeness of having an SLR camera. You can control the features, you can get the different settings from your SLR camera that you just can't get from a point and shoot camera. And again, I mean this out of all due respect. I used to be at the same stage where I used to shoot at full auto for a little bit, but I honestly quickly moved on to the programmable mode, or the P setting, and I used to stay at the programmable mode for a long time. It was just recently that I switched to manual and priority aperture, and then since I've been on manual and priority aperture settings, I just haven't been back. It's just so much easier to shoot, those settings than go back to using full auto, because you'll know the basics, and once you know the basics, you'll finally be able to get more from your camera and take even better photos than you thought you could have. So know the basic settings. Once you know the basic settings, you will definitely have a reason to buy a new lens kit, and you can get more from that lens kit than you would if you shot at full auto settings. Moving on, my second advice is to just keep taking photos, and it doesn't matter where you are. You can be at home, go around your house and take photos, go to your backyard, go to a family gathering. It doesn't matter. Just keep taking photos, and that's what's going to help you get better. If you can, try to upgrade from full auto mode to the P setting or the programmable setting, and through the programmable settings you'll actually gain a little bit of knowledge on how the ISO works, what kind of different ISO will be suitable for what different type of weather or type of day outside. You'll be a little bit familiar with exposures, and that's just really going to help you gain some knowledge. And through the programmable setting, you're going to gain a lot of knowledge on the ISO and what kind of ISO is suitable for the day. You're going to gain knowledge on how to how to focus on through the different viewfinder options. There's actually, I think, about 9 different focus points on the T3, and that's the camera I use. And you'll be able to actually manipulate those different types of focusing points, and that again will add that will really make a big difference on your photos. And finally, you're going to actually know and realize how to focus your subject and how to position your camera to take your photos. And I know this does not sound like a big thing, but honestly, these small details actually make a really big difference on how your photos come out. So after you've switched down to the programmable settings mode, and after you've gone out and taken hundreds of shots, the last advice I have to give before you upgrade to a second lens is go home and look through all your photos. When I say this, I mean go home and look through all the different photos you've taken and critique them. If possible, post these photos that you think were your best and post them on forums and get all the critique you can from amateurs, from freelance photographers, from even professionals. And a lot of people actually do take their time and look through your photos and tell you what you could have done better, and they're honestly blunt about it. They don't try to hurt your feelings, but they're just honest about it and tell you flat out to your face if it's a bad photo or if it's a good photo. And through those ways you're going to get better. There are programs like Photoshop, Lightroom, even iPhoto, I think, and Aperture, and there are also other programs that you could probably Google and you'll be able to download them for free that actually tell you the different types of settings you use on your photos, like the different aperture, like the ISO, like the white balance, and all the good stuff like that. So honestly, if you can, try to get an editing software and go from there. Also, when you're going to be on the field, you're going to notice that you could have taking a better shot with a better lens, and that's when you're going to start thinking what kind of lens I need for the future. Now on to the golden question, what shall be your second lens kit? And I'll be quite honest, this answer will come just from you. You're going to be the one to find out what your second lens kit will be. Most people generally tend to go with the Nifty 50 as their second lens kit if you're on the Canon, or in other words, just go with a Canon 50mm prime lens kit. And most people who shoot either Nikon or Canon, I've seen them go just with the Nifty 50. I myself, I've done the same. I've gone from my lens kit with the 18 to 55mm lens kit to the Nifty 50, and I'll be quite honest, I haven't taken any of my best shots with it, but I have taken numerous amount of good shots that I think have really paid off. I've taken, I think, some of the best action shots ever with that lens kit, and I've taken a few really good photos with it. That being said, if you go ahead and not go with the Nifty 50, you still have several different options. The reason I went with the Nifty 50 instead of another lens kit is because I actually did try to shoot indoor photography a little bit. I tried to shoot indoor while at a family gathering, and the 18 to 55mm lens kit did okay, but hey, I wanted something that could do better, and I went with the Nifty 50 instead of a telephoto lens. Even though I think at that moment I needed a telephoto lens more, I went with the Nifty 50 because I wanted to take indoor shots as well, so I gave it a risk, and I just went ahead with the Nifty 50, not thinking too much into it. I mean, I'll be honest, when I first was looking for a second lens kit, I was all over the place. And, you know, the 28 to 135mm lens kit was also on my mind, which was my third lens kit I bought. But that was also on my mind, but I went with the Nifty 50 instead. But that being said, if you don't go with the Nifty 50, there are still several different options out there to go with a second lens kit. Now, honestly, your second lens kit will depend mostly on the style of photography you do. If you do a lot of close-up shots, or if you're trying to take photos of birds that are a little bit far away from where you're actually trying to take the photo from, you know for sure you need a telephoto lens. And again, I'm not going to lie, I think in most cases, if you don't buy a Nifty 50, you're bound to buy a telephoto lens as your second lens kit. So honestly, what you have to do is go out and look at all the photos you've taken, and if you're on the field, you'll probably also notice that you're missing something. Maybe if you're trying to take a photo on the field and you fall short, you know you need a telephoto lens. And it honestly becomes common sense from there when you're taking photos. And again, once you've taken about 100 photos or so, you'll already know or get the drift of what kind of lens you're going to need as your second lens kit. So now in this part of the video, I'm going to go ahead and give you my personal recommendations for your second lens kit, and I will cover the Canon and Nikon side. If you use a Sony or any other camera, you kind of have to match up the specs and see what kind of lens that actual brand offers. So I'm going to go ahead and get through the Canon side first, and then I'll go to the Nikon. So the first lens for the Canon side I recommend as a second lens kit obviously is the Nifty 50, the 50mm prime lens kit. I also have a review up on this lens on my channel, so go ahead and check that out. Then if you don't want to go with the Nifty 50, you always have the Canon EF 28 to 135mm lens kit. This is my third lens kit. I own this lens. It's my most used lens kit, and I love it. I've taken my best shots with this lens, and again, I can't get enough, but this is the best lens kit I've used so far. And for the price, it's not that bad of a lens. It's actually a great lens for the price, I'll say. And this is my third lens kit. I have a review up on this lens as well on my channel. Go ahead and check that out. The next lens, I don't actually own this lens, but I've used it, but it's a great lens as well. This is the Canon 55 to 250mm lens kit. Great telephoto lens, and especially if you want a good amount of distance, this will definitely give you that good distance to capture birds on branches or even take some good close-up shots. So this would be my third recommendation, moving on to the next lens is the Canon 18 to 200mm lens kit, and again, this is a little bit pricey. I'd rather go with a better lens kit if you're gonna go with this lens, if you can save up. But again, $600 for this lens is kind of expensive, and I'm not gonna lie. But again, this is not a bad lens kit at all. The only one thing I see people actually talk about a lot with these kind of lenses where they go from 18mm to 200mm is that the photo quality degrades a little bit as you move up the focal length. But again, that shouldn't be a big problem for anyone just, as an amateur, even myself. The final lens recommendation from the Canon side is the 75 to 300 millimeter lens. This is a great lens kit as well. I've actually used this lens kit as well, and I think it takes some really good shots, and the quality on this lens kit is really nice as well. So this is the Canon side. Let's go ahead and move on to the Nikon side. The first one is the Nikon 50mm. This is the prime lens, kind of equivalent to the Canon side, as the prime lens kit as the Nifty 50. The next one is the 55 to 200mm lens kit from Nikon. Also, I actually do have a friend who uses this lens, and he's taken some fantastic shots with this lens. It's also a great lens. Also, it's not that much for the price for a good telephoto lens. Then the last two lens, second last lens is the 55 to 300mm. Again, this is $400, but I think this takes some really great photos as well. I've read some really good reviews on this one as well. And then the last one, 70 to 300mm lens kit. This one guy I know, he works at the studio and he uses this lens for some shots, and it's actually a really good quality lens kit. And again, this is a really good lens kit, and for the price it is a little bit expensive, but again, lenses are not expensive, or rather I'd say lenses are actually really expensive. And again, photography is also a really expensive hobby, but once you start up and get your first few lenses, you won't have to really upgrade that much and that often. So these are my lens recommendations. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me on my channel or send me an email. I'll try to reply to them as quick as possible, and please feel free to like this video if it helped you out. And thank you very much. Have a great day. This has been Everything is Tech from everythingistech.com. Peace out.